even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Marsh
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. I am Jimmy Murphy. He is Pierre McGuire. Pierre, how was your weekend, my friend?
Very good. Watched a lot of hockey at all levels, which was great. And yeah, good.
And traveling too?
Lots of travel. I'll be traveling more tomorrow and later this week, so busy. But I'll never be too busy for you, James.
I appreciate that, my friends. The feeling is mutual. And
No.
Pierre, something happened in Long Island yesterday, I think. A little momentum.
UBS Arena.
Yes. Mr. Alexander Ovechkin finally broke Wayne Gretzky's goal. I shouldn't say finally. It's a lot sooner than people expected. But broke the goal record. He is now the all-time leading goal scorer in the NHL. Just a magical moment there. We will get to that in a bit when we bring on a man who had the honor of calling that game and calling that momentous moment. The longtime radio play-by-play man for the Capitals, John Walton, will be joining us shortly here on the Eye Test. So we will get to that in a second. But Pierre, it's funny. We pre-recorded our on-campus already today just because the Frozen Four begins Thursday. So we're going to air it on Wednesday. And our featured guest was Guy Godowski from Penn State. And, you know, in between, that was this morning. And in between then and now, I was thinking about that interview and something he said there, just talking about when I asked him, you know, what was going through your head when they scored the overtime winner to get to their first Frozen Four ever. And he just starts talking about all the people that helped him and all the different moments that got him and got the school's program to that moment. And, you know, I'm thinking that must have been too for Alexander Ovechkin, right? When he's standing there and he's soaking it all in. And there's probably so many memories and so many people that played a pivotal role in getting there. And I'm wondering, I want to ask you here on air, when you won that first Stanley Cup with Pittsburgh, who and what was going through your head?
Thought about my mother and the amount of time she spent driving me to games. All the games my father came to watch me play. The support I had from my brothers and my sister. The really good coaches that I appreciated. And the coaches that weren't as good, but taught me what not to do rather than what to do. So I thought about them. Thought about a lot of my old teammates. But I think I told you this story once before. I'll never forget the first day of training camp. And we were staying at the old Vista Hotel in Pittsburgh. And I walked up the hill from the Vista to the old Civic Arena, which is now an office building and a parking lot. And I remember it was really hot and humid in Pittsburgh in early September. And I was perspiring. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm finally going to an NHL camp as a management person. Wow. It was an amazing feeling. So I thought about that, and here we were like 10 months later, Jimmy.
Yeah.
We had won the cup. And, you know, I think that first year, I could be wrong, but I think I was home 14 days in a whole NHL season that year.
Wow.
So it was really amazing. So I thought about a lot of people. It's one of those where you never forget, you know what I mean? You never forget where you were, what you were doing. I met the coolest part of the story. We'll have to get him on, Joe Malash.
Oh, Joe.
So Joe and I were in the tunnel walking out to the ice surface, and all of a sudden he just started crying.
That's understandable.
And so we just hugged each other, and I was like, are you okay? And he's like, well, I played for the North Stars, but I played for the Penguins, but I never won the cup until now. It was really cool. It was a really cool thing. It was it was such a normal emotion for somebody that had been his whole life, like from 20 years of age to, I got to think Julie at that time was probably 42, 44, somewhere in there, to think that, you know, he had accomplished so much, but really had never been close to the cup.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, you know, it's something, and I always noticed that about you, even before we got to know each other, when you were working for NBC, you always made it a point to convey the stories of players or coaches or whomever, you know, that you were covering. And I think that's good that you always did, because I don't think we do that enough in the media. Like, we don't humanize the people and the moments enough. So that's like, just listening to him today when we recorded that, it made me think about that a lot.
Oh, you know what? I'm so proud of you for saying that, Jimmy. I got to tell you this. And like Guy Godowski was a tough kid as a player. He wasn't the best player. He wasn't the fastest guy. He wasn't the strongest guy. He wasn't the biggest guy. How about today when he told us, well, when I went to play college, I weighed 135 pounds.
It's like looking at him.
I didn't even want to ask him because when I was working with him, he probably was like 190.
Okay.
But think about it, he's like 135. And I was like, okay. And I thought that was a cool part of the story. But the thing that really made me excited was I saw how hard this guy worked every day, Jimmy. He works so hard every day to be a hockey player. And then it's obviously translated to where he is as a coach.
Yep, and it's conveying into that right now, into his players as well. And that's why they are headed to the Frozen Four on Thursday, where they will play BU in the second game after Denver and Western Michigan play. But we'll have more on that as the week goes on. Pierre, let's get into the weekend that was. Last I saw you live, I was just back from Montreal, and the night before, the Canadians had beat the Bruins. They then go on the following day. They beat the Flyers. And, when you and I were kind of looking ahead to their schedule, I think we might even said it on air here, maybe last Wednesday or something. We're kind of looking at that weekend back to back saying, look, they got to beat the Flyers. And if they can maybe survive the game long enough and get to overtime and get a point there, so they get 3 out of 4, then they're in good shape. Pierre, they didn't even need overtime. They come back, they get 2 points. And it wasn't pretty by any means. They clearly were exhausted, but they gutted it out. And I think as this season has gone on, that's become a real trademark of this team is the ability to dig deep. And to, I think, when they know that they maybe don't have it, they simplify and they just keep within their structure. They don't try to do too much.
That Caden Gooley was a welcome addition.
Oh my God.
He makes a difference. Not having Josh Anderson and them getting through that, because that line, with Armia and Gallagher, and when Anderson's healthy, has been really effective for them. And I know people are going to look at the turnover Mike Matheson made in the first period, and they're going to yell and scream, oh, Mike Matheson played his derriere off. This guy, he and Carrier were so good for most of that game. Yeah, were there a couple foibles? There were, but they were still good enough. And as much as everybody's going to say Dobish was a superhero in that game, watch the tape closely. There was some divine intervention there,
yes,
which is fine. That's all part of this deal.
Yes.
This is all part of this whole deal.
That's right.
36 saves is impressive, but he didn't look comfortable.
Yeah. Well, as I told you, Pierre, when we were talking this morning, prepping for the show, I was listening on the radio coming back from my daughter's dance competition, and John Goyens, who does the color for TSN 690 with Victor Finley, he was just saying, look, it's clear they're just throwing everything at the net right now. They don't care, where it goes, just get it on net and hope for a bounce. And it was clear that was happening. And to your point, a lot of times it was just sort of hitting Dobish. And I'm not trying to take anything away, but you're right. It was that. But there were times, like you pointed out to me, Pierre, where, I'm looking at him. I was watching the highlights today after you pointed it out. And he looked a little bit like Denny Lemieux in Slapshot before he, finished polished off his game. He's just kind of flopping everywhere and all that. But when he needed to make the big saves, he made it.
He did. I give him credit. Like, that guy battles. He might not be the most orthodox guy. He might not be the most athletic guy. But I'll tell you what, he's a big guy and he battles.
Yep.
You cannot take those two things away from him. The last two things. So, look, they got out of Dodge. I don't know how they pulled it off, but they got out of Dodge and they got the 2 points, and you just move along. And, they've got a pretty substantial week coming up. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy week for them, especially the tail end of the week, going into Ottawa and going into Toronto on a Friday and Saturday. But, I look at it and I say they've given themselves some wiggle room now. So if they could take advantage of home ice this week before they head out on the road, that would be massive for them. Huge.
Yeah, that one against the Red Wings tomorrow. That's
they got to have it.
They got to have that.
You win that game, you basically tell the Red Wings, okay, you guys are going golfing, and we're going to keep playing. That's basically what you're doing.
Yep. And by the way, speaking of the Red Wings, they beat a depleted Florida Panthers team yesterday, Pierre. And as you rightfully pointed out, is there a team out there, and we don't think so, that was more affected by the Four Nations face-off in terms of wear and tear and injuries. And you look at that lineup and how many different players participated in that. Not all of them have missed games, but at times it shows in their performance. Not saying that they're playing badly, but they're just worn down. And you factor in that on top of the fact that a good portion of that team has now played deep into June for 2 straight seasons. Hey, these guys are human. They may be in amazing tip-top shape, but everybody's human out there, and it catches up to you, Pierre.
Yeah, I don't have to say much more. I think you nailed it really well, Jimmy. I don't think Paul Maurice has ever coached better. I really don't. I don't think his staff has ever coached better. And this is a team that's been in the final twice in a row. They won it last year. They won it in a Game 7 on home. Like, they've done a lot. They have done a lot as a group. And I think he's done some magnificent work this year as a coach. And his staff has been equally good. I think they're running out of gas. I really do. You can see it. Now, it doesn't mean they won't win. But this year, I'm not saying – last year I was very comfortable saying they're the favorite to win the Stanley Cup. I'm not prepared to do that this year.
Yeah, and even like a player they acquire in Brad Marchand came in injured when he arrived, and it's probably still feeling it a bit as well. And Pierre, because of that now, and a credit to them for taking advantage of it, the Ottawa Senators all of a sudden are 2 points behind the Florida Panthers.
Without Brady Tkachuk in the lineup,
and
they're just starting to find their way. They're going to be. I don't think they'll have a lot of play. Obviously, they don't have a lot of playoff experience outside of Claude Giroux and Travis Hamonic with a little bit, but they're going to be a tough out because they got a whole lot of youthful enthusiasm. My question mark there is going to be in goal.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
I mean, you're looking at it now. So if they were to catch the Panthers and switch positions there, then we're kind of looking at and now Tampa could still move up, but as of now, it would be Tampa and Ottawa in that 2-3 slot, which would be an interesting matchup there, but still a lot to be determined there. And the other one I want to bring up here too, a team that I feel like now, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in that dressing room. I'm not covering them on a daily basis. So I'm only judging this on what I see from afar.
Mm-hmm.
But a team that I'm a bit worried about is they go down the stretch here, and I get it. They're kind of cemented into their slot in the playoffs, and that can be dangerous at this time of year. But you want to build momentum. The Carolina Hurricanes. There's just something off there with them, Pierre. That game they lose to the Bruins there, and the Bruins have been on the worst losing streak in years for that team. And the Bruins obviously are not in a good place. And yet the Carolina Hurricanes can't find a way to beat them. Should they be worried in Carolina right now?
I'm going to say it's too early to be worried, but here's what my concern is. I'm not sure they're set up properly in goal. We'll see. They haven't won yet. Either of those guys haven't won yet. And I just worry about some of their injuries. They've got some older guys, so I worry a little about that. And Jimmy, I mean, I told you at the start of the year, this is a total referendum on analytics. Carolina is the ultimate referendum on analytics. And if they do well, I'll have to, more than anybody else, I'll have to rebuild how to build a team. Mm-hmm. But if they don't do well, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic in a lot of these boardrooms around the league about the influence of analytics and the costs of building an analytics department.
Yeah, I had a friend actually call me on the way home when I was driving last night, and he says, "Man, the Carolina Hurricanes are making Pierre McGuire look like a genius right now." But we'll get to that later.
That's not easy to do, Jimmy.
Yes, it is. Hey, speaking of Hurricanes, they had a pretty rough game with the team we're going to talk about right now, the Washington Capitals last week. But the talk around the Capitals, obviously, as we said, Alexander Ovechkin breaks the record. And before we bring on our next guest, let's go to that moment right now that he did such a great job of calling. Here's Alexander Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's record.
Will make his way to the neutral ice, dropping it for Dylan Strome. He and Chychrun will team up and glide through center. Right side to Wilson. Centered up. Ovechkin has it. He scores! He scores! Alex Ovechkin scores 895! There's a new goal-scoring champion, and his name is Alexander Ovechkin. He has done it here on Long Island. His teammates mob him. There is but one. Alex Alexander the Great, the greatest to ever do it in National Hockey League history.
Well, fitting that he does it on.
And there it is right there. That was John Walton on the call, and John Walton joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. John, what a moment. How are you doing today, my friend?
Well, we're glad we don't play till Thursday, Jimmy. That was the day. We got Carolina coming in Thursday, off day, a couple of off days really for the boys. So what a moment. I never would have guessed when I got started doing this that that's the kind of day. You think about Stanley Cups, or you think about, I guess other big moments, but to be able to be in a booth for a call like that, it was a once in a lifetime moment. I'm really glad I got the chance to do it.
Oh, and you handled it unbelievably well. You don't get a mulligan for those calls.
No.
So it's either you do it or you don't do it. And you stood and delivered, my man. So proud of you, John. That was awesome to listen to. Jimmy and I were prepping this morning. I said, we got to get Johnny's call on there. He was so good. He was so good. What was it like being around the group, John, over the course of this chase, over the last 10 days or so?
It was a lot of media, and I think I was thinking back to Friday when Chicago was in here and he ended up tying it. I was just trying to get to Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson, and the Strums were 20 deep, and this is crazy. There's so much interest in it, and it was so there was that part of it where the day-to-day was, John Carlson beautifully last night was talking about how every time his teammates, like whether it was John or whether it was somebody else, like, hey, it's great, Alex scored, he's one closer. But for Alex, it meant, all right, we're going to talk to the New York media, or we're going to talk to the Carolina media, we're going to talk whatever team, whatever city we happen to be in. And every goal was work for him now, because he's talking about and getting asked essentially the same questions that he was asked the day before and the day before that. So I'm sure that along with being proud and thrilled, he is also relieved. And I think that was something that John had talked about a little in a lot of guys. But Pierre, when you go through the room and there's so many character guys in here, and they all stood in there yesterday. By the time I got down and I interviewed Wilson and interviewed Charlie Lindgren, and just the outpouring of love, and the fact that even on the ice, I think anybody could really feel as you were watching that everything he did was about team. He wanted every member of the team out there, whether it was Tom Wilson, who's been here 13 or 14 years, or it's Ryan Leonard, who's been here a week. They're all out. And by the way, what a week for Ryan Leonard, because he gets his first goal, got his first NHL game at home. Wayne Gretzky's congratulating him on his first NHL goal Friday, and then he's part of the ceremony for the biggest goal that's ever been scored in regular season history. So Ryan Leonard, it probably always slides from here. I can't imagine you can have a better week than that. But for everybody, include everybody, it's all about team. I couldn't do it without you. All those things that he said when he was at center ice yesterday in the second period.
John, I thought the NHL really handled it well with the way, they had they stopped the game. They did the ceremony. Nobody knows what goes on behind the scenes. We get to see that all the time, but just for the viewers there, talk to us about all the work and preparation that they were having to do each time in anticipation of this goal.
Oh, it was incredible. With Steve Mayer and the rest of the crew from the NHL, every city, when we were in Carolina, 3:30 in the afternoon, they've got, okay, here's where the rug will go. Here's where, was he going to score 4 goals? Probably not, but they were ready for it if they needed to. And same thing at Capital One Arena on Friday when Chicago was here. Is he going to get a hat trick? Probably not. Well, he almost did, but they were ready for it. And Long Island and the crew of the Islanders and Kimber Arback and the rest of Islanders PR helping out with, Sergei Kucherov and the Caps PR staff and the NHL. It was flawless. And I thought Wayne's speech at center ice was just pitch perfect, and bringing the Islanders fans into it. This happened in their front yard, and it wasn't like they were just watching something, happen to someone else. This was, he really brought them in and talked about, he was glad it wasn't at Nassau Coliseum because he lost a lot of games there. It was perfect all the way across. And the video presentation, everything, they couldn't have done a better job.
John, this has not been an easy chase for Ovi, obviously, and I think his teammates probably felt some of the duress as well. How much did this sap the team going this close to the playoffs?
I think I don't know if I would say sap the team as much as at times there would be pucks that were maybe forced to places where they shouldn't have been forced to. we talked to Spencer Carberry about that a little bit. And I think some of the power play drought issues that hopefully have been rectified here, I think that might have been part of it. I think there has been an energy around it that has certainly brought him into the fight a little bit. I mean, they've been so good all season. They have lost 5 of 7, including yesterday, and to be fair. But I do think that having, to your point, Pierre, and it's a good one, it's good that there are 5 games left. Get back to it. The circus has left town. You've got a couple days to rest. And last night, the boys, Ovi had the team out for a night in DC to be able to celebrate together, which was great that it fell the way it did, because here they are, the day-to-day tomorrow, practice on Wednesday, and then Carolina coming in on Thursday. They won't need any extra motivation for Carolina on Thursday after what happened last week. So,
let's go, Johnny.
Yeah, it was, wow, that was something. So maybe the schedule couldn't have worked out better that your first team after all this, after a few days off, is the Hurricanes.
Hey, Jimmy, before you go, I just want to ask John, don't give too many secrets away, but I got to think Cafe Milano got a little attention from the Caps players in Georgetown.
I think Georgetown was heavily populated last night with capital staff.
Just checking in. Just want to make sure everybody's okay.
John, as an announcer, as this gets closer and closer, how hard was it because you want to just be in the moment, right? But how hard was it to not sort of plan what you're going to say in your head, as opposed to just you get there and it happens?
It's funny. I have never been one that plans anything, because
right.
if you like Game 5 Stanley Cup final, and I don't know Lars Eller's going to score, I don't know Devontae Smith-Pelly's going to tie it. I mean, I want it to be authentic, so I've never been one to do that. But I have to admit that when you know what's coming and you know the magnitude, it is tougher not to. So for me, I had some things that were swirling around in my head a little bit that I wanted to potentially hit on. I think some I did, some I didn't. I don't really know what's going to come out, but at least as far as the call yesterday, I was pretty much, I think, where I wanted to be with a couple of things. I mean, just recognizing the moment. I wanted to make sure that I used his full name because, it's been Alex out of my mouth for 15 years.
Yep.
But I thought it was important to do that, a little bit, sometimes even a little bit like the Alexander the Great at the end, I think was planted by our assistant coach for video, Brett Lienhart, because he saw me at breakfast and, hey, did you think about this? I was like, well, sure. That sounds good. I don't know. And sure enough, and I kind of chuckled because, I had ended up coming out that way. So when I got to the bus yesterday, I said, Stretch, might want to hear the call if you haven't. You had a little bit of an influence I wasn't planning on. So sometimes it happens like that. But it was great.
Yeah, John, you framed it so well. The beauty of your call on the radio is you frame all the big moments really well. And Jimmy, I've had the honor to work with John at a lot of big events at the Olympics. And that's like, he knows how to frame stuff. A lot of announcers got great pipes and they got this and they got that. Not all of them can frame stuff. John does that so well. And that's why on the radio, like if you go listen to that call again, look at all the elements that he put into it. And it's not like breaking it down and saying, what did he say? What did he say? It's like he's framing the moment. John, I thought you were so magnificent on that.
Well, I really appreciate that, Pierre. Coming from you, that means a lot. So I was happy with it. I was happy for the moment. I was just thrilled to be able to be there. And that's kind of you're getting into once in a lifetime territory with stuff like that. So
you're not calling that. I hate to tell you, you're not calling another guy who made goals. I'll tell you that right now. That's over. That's not happening again. Sorry.
Yep,
not in your lifetime, my man.
You mentioned some of the guys and how important it was for Alex to have a lot of them there. Just talk to us, and Pierre's mentioned this a couple of times, the unique relationship he has on and off the ice with Nicholas Backstrom.
Yeah, that was, I think, emotional for all of us, not just for those two. I mean, trace that one back to 2018 and the handoff of the cup, and then when it went to Nicky. And if they are building a statue outside of Cap One, the handoff of the cup between those two would be a pretty good place to start.
Really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that Nicky wasn't able to keep playing. I think everyone would have loved to have seen Nicky with Alex and 895. But the fact he was in the building, and TJ Oshie's another. I mean, two of the main pieces of the Cup winner and two of the guys he was closest with on the team. TJ Oshie, outside of the Rod Langway trade, might be the best trade in Capitals history. I don't know that they don't win without him, that's for sure. And the guy, he was the everyman. I mean, the deal with St. Louis, he was good in St. Louis. He was phenomenal with Washington and really took his career to another level. And just the glue guy who happens to also be a 30-goal guy, high 20s most of the time during his time here. So very important to Alex and for both of them to be traveling and being there for it. And they were so happy, guys. I mean, in the room afterward and the pictures, I mean, you saw some of it with Nikki. I think that was pretty evident. There's a lot of that with TJ too. And just to be able to have them back in the room together, it felt like a throwback, honestly, because everybody's dressed, everybody's congratulating Alex, and they were right alongside. And for at least a few minutes, it kind of felt like nothing changed, and they were still around us day to day. So emotional for all of us, and we were really, really glad that they were a part of it.
John, do you think he'll keep playing much longer? Talking about Alex.
I mean, you were talking about his season. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, we've been so focused on 895. The fact that he has 42 goals. And he was out for almost 7 weeks with a broken leg. That's insane. I mean, what would he have had if he didn't get hurt? And he's right there among the league leaders and just beyond Draisaitl. And I don't know how you leave if you've got 42 goals. I mean, you know, Wayne was gone at 38 and he had 9 goals the last year. Here he is with the same number of games. Which is, by the way, a statistical freak show that they played the exact same number of games and 1 goal more for Alex. I hope so. I mean, he's got 1 year left on his deal, and I hope that he will see it through. I'm not ready to say goodbye, so I'm hoping that there's still a few more, and I don't know if he's going to get to 900 this year or not, but hopefully at the rate he's going, he would. But I think that would be superhuman to keep up with. But into a next season where you'd be looking in the low 9s and much like Wayne did against Gordy, kind of put that bar a little bit further out there. I think for all of us, that's what I would hope.
John, how much, I guess the word would be enjoy, not that he's not going to enjoy the moment, obviously, but how much more enjoyable was the ride to this moment yesterday, considering what management was able to do in the offseason and make this a cup contender?
I think that was the goal when they had talked about what they wanted at the end of his career. And that always sounds aspirational. I mean, of course you want to do that, but it was the implementation of being able to identify guys that were either they knew what they were getting, like a Matt Roy. You knew what Matt Roy was going to be, but they took Matt Roy and said, you know what, there's more offense than your game than you had in Los Angeles. He's a 25-point guy now. Rasmus Sandin, you're not just a one-trick pony when it comes to maybe a power play in Toronto or a little bit of offense. You're a 200-foot player. Pierre-Luc Dubois is like, oh, it didn't go well in LA and it didn't go in Winnipeg or Columbus. And oh, is he damaged goods? I mean, he has been outstanding at both ends and shutting down Austin Matthews. Connor McDavid didn't have a shot when Edmonton was here and was just completely stifled by him. So it was identifying guys, but it was also under Spencer Carberry making them more than they had been in their previous stops. So a lot went into it. It's Brian McClellan, Chris Patrick, and hockey operations, yes, but it was Spencer Carberry bringing them all together in what's been a phenomenal season. It's funny, as we talk right now, this is the hardest part of their season. They've lost 5 of 7, but they haven't lost more than 3 in a row all year, and that's only happened twice. Right. And here we are coming up on the end of the season. So they've been remarkably consistent. Alexei Protas being out is going to hurt, but I think that when you have the depth that this team has, 1 to 12, 1 to 6, 1 to 2, I think they're ready for whatever comes their way.
I would be remiss before we let you go to ask you, how you feeling? How's your health? Because you look fantastic, my friend.
I am doing well, Pierre. You and I have walked that road, unfortunately, and we've come out the other side, fortunately. Doing great, feeling good. The second half of the season, I feel like I'm pretty close to 100%. And the guys winning hockey games always makes you feel a little better. So around a team that scores a lot of goals, and you bring up a good point. I mean, yesterday was was a great day. And, there was a time, last summer that I wasn't sure what my future was going to be. So it makes you grateful. It makes you humble. It makes you happy to go to the rink every day. I'm around a bunch of guys that make an old guy feel young every day. So that helps. These are wonderful guys. Ovechkin came running down the hall yesterday. He saw me turn around. I said, "Come here, give me a hug." Comes over, gives me the big hug, runs down to the press conference. Just stuff like that you just can't get in any other line of work. And I'm grateful for it every day.
Well, you look fantastic. Whatever you're doing it awesome. Forget the call. The call was special. You look fantastic. Tell your big partner, Big Sabarin, I heard his voice on the call too. Sabby was good. Tell him I said hello. He sounded so good, Kenny. He sounded really good.
Yeah, he was great. Our crew and Katie and everything has been awesome. So we were really, really proud of everybody. It all came together the way we would have hoped. And onward from here. We'll play Thursday night. We'll see what happens.
Jimmy and I will be watching. We'll be tracking you.
Well, John, we look forward to getting you on in the playoffs. And tell Sergey, great job as well with all the PR stuff he did. I know that must have been an impossible job, but he nailed it. So.
Oh yeah, Sergey and Chase and Alex and Megan, they're the best. And Caps PR, they'd say you don't ever see any of the stuff they do, but it all doesn't come off. It comes off without a hitch. They make it look easy.
Thanks, Johnny. Thank you.
Have a good one, my friend.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, John.
John Walton, join us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. He's a good one there, Pierre.
He's like, I'm going to tell you right now, for radio guys, he's good enough to be on TV, but he's really good on the radio. Like I did a lot of games with him over the course of probably 7 to 10 years. He's really good.
Yeah.
And his passion is off the charts.
Oh,
he doesn't scream and yell at you.
No.
He talks with you. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He kind of like Doc. He's folksy. He talks with you. He doesn't yell at you.
Yeah. And you can tell he's such a student of the game too.
Oh my goodness. Trust me, he studies a lot.
Yeah.
But doesn't he look good? Like he was battling prostate cancer there last fall. I mean,
yeah,
he looks fantastic.
It's amazing. Good for him. Good for him. All right. So yeah, Alexander Ovechkin, and like he said, good thing they have a few days off here after that celebration. But good point by you two there too. We had mentioned Carolina. That's a good way to kind of wake up and get right back into it,
Well, I wonder what the plan will be going in, because you got, like he said it correctly, we got 5 games left till the playoffs start, and they kind of know what their fate is, what they're gonna where they're gonna finish. But do you risk, like when you put the game plan together, what do you think? What do you do?
You call up the Hanson brothers.
Do you bring some guys up that don't require waivers?
Yeah.
I mean, they got one guy I know that can take care of his business. That's Dylan McElrath. They got another guy that I know can do his chores, and Tommy Wilson. But do you want to risk getting Wilson hurt? I mean, no. I don't know about that. But and this, look at Dylan McElrath, done some amazing stuff there.
Oh yeah,
he's a tough cat. He's legit tough. He doesn't hide behind the linesman. He doesn't. You want to fight? I'll fight you.
Yep.
But I don't know what they'll think about doing. That Thursday game is going to be an interesting one to watch, and you and I are going to be busy that night because we're going to be doing college games and we're going to be watching pro games, and I'll be taking a red-eye flight from out west back to the East Coast. So got a lot going on that day.
Yeah, that will be interesting. And he mentioned Dubois there too, and I was reading, Pierre, that I guess Ryan Leonard is rooming now with Dubois, and he had nothing but great things to say about him. And really, just the transformation of Dubois this season, and apparently off the ice as well. Such a great story that I think maybe is going a little bit underreported around the league. I'm sure it's getting attention in Washington, but credit to him for going in there and really buying into what they're doing there and turning things around.
Credit to you for even bringing that up. I think that's a great point. It's way underreported around the league.
Yep,
it really is. No, Jimmy, that's a great.
He took a lot of flack.
But Jimmy, to be fair, I think he deserves some of it.
Right. And I think he'd agree.
He deserved some of it in Columbus. He definitely deserved a lot of it in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't in LA, so I don't know what the heck happened there, but something happened.
But sometimes it just, sooner or later, you either say, okay, if I don't get it here, I'm never going to get it. And I don't know who had a conversation with him or he had it with himself, but he's finally found it, and good for him for doing that.
Yeah, that's good. I agree.
All right, Pierre, let's get to our wonderful sponsors. And then I got a great pick for us tonight in my Betway picks. So let's go to TCS Customs and Logistics first. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting, TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For no obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that is sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. And of course, Betway, where you can go all the way with Betway right now, and you still get that free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. That is if you become a new customer, only available for new customers. So go right there if you haven't yet. Sign up with the QR code right in front of you if you're watching. And if not, you can go to the website, go to the details section, and create your new account there. The offer is not available in Ontario. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 18 plus and always play responsibly. Let's go to the sick pick of the night.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
All right, Pierre, the St. Louis Blues are in Winnipeg tonight.
How about 12 in a row?
12 in a row. They have a chance to get 13 in a row. And with a regulation win and a Calgary regulation loss to the San Jose Sharks later on tonight, they will clinch a playoff spot. I don't know how many people were thinking that a few months ago. It has been something. What a run they are on. And amazingly, Pierre, they are heavy underdogs in Winnipeg tonight. And not to take away, obviously, Winnipeg, best record in hockey. I get it. But, does this streak not factor in when these odds makers are looking at it? I don't know, but jump on it because that's my pick right now. The underdog St. Louis Blues, you can get them at plus 160 value right now. I think that's great. And I'll give you a little bonus one. He's been hot. He's been playing a great role in the winning streak right now, and that's Zachary Bolduc. He is plus 360 to score an anytime goal right now. Jump on that right now because he has been in fuego for the St. Louis Blues. So there you go. Those are my picks of the night. Let's get to the Q&A. What do we got? Alex Ovechkin. How come Connor Bedard hasn't scored more goals? I noticed he's getting shots on net. He's a better playmaker than I originally believed. So much was made about his wrist shot, and I just don't see it now. Pierre?
It's been a bad year.
It has.
The only shining moment really in Chicago has been Ryan Donato.
Mm-hmm.
It hadn't been a good year there. And I think everybody's kind of caught in the whole problem. It's just they're all talking about everybody's saying the same thing. Wait till next year.
Yeah.
Wait till next year. Well, when you wait till next year, what happens in this year?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know. The thing that worries me, Pierre, and I saw it the night when Ovechkin tied the record and doing the handshake there. And I swear he was one of the only players who didn't look excited to be in this historic moment. Like he really just looked deflated. And I'm saying if he can't get up for a moment like that, because you saw how some of these other opponents were, they couldn't believe it. They're asking for autographs. They're like, this is awesome. I'm part of history. He just wanted to get the heck out of there, it seemed. And that's what worries me. So I just hope that in this off season, somebody starts to mentor him a little more and pull him aside. Hey, kid, you got a bright future ahead of you. Don't worry. It's gonna come together. I think that's what he needs right now is just some pep talk, so to speak.
Yeah, probably true.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, next question. Joe Segredo, with Waugh dropping down the depth chart, is it time to move him while he still has value, maybe to the Hawks to help Bedard? Joshua,
do I think he might get moved? I don't know, but here's what I would say. I'm not surprised if you look at what the Canadiens are doing and what the role is they want for him. He wasn't producing in that role, so he's not a checker. He's got to get points. I think, again, he's going to be under the gun a lot next year. We'll see. But I don't think they're taking away his value. I don't think they are.
No. All right, next question. Alex Ovechkin again. Speaking of Florida running out of gas potential for this year, do you see issues for them going forward? I saw the Kings go through something similar 10 years ago. That style of play takes its toll. Good point, Alex.
It is a good point, but here's the thing, Alex. Not too many people are talking about this. Go look at what the Florida Panthers did when they signed a bunch of guys out of college, older players, free agents, thinking exactly what you're talking about, Alex. They signed a lot of guys and put them in Charlotte, and the guys that didn't make it in Charlotte, they put them down in Savannah. And so they're starting to stockpile extra bodies. So probably what they're thinking is 1 out of every 6 make it. And so that's kind of what they're thinking right now. I would imagine maybe 1 out of every 7. So they've stockpiled a fair number of players coming out of college this year, which I found very interesting.
Yep, good point. So they're already thinking just like Alex there. All right, next question. P. Cormier, Pierre, as the president of the Lane Hudson fan club, do you believe the long season will catch up with him in the playoffs, or is he just a unicorn and unbelievable? He is truly impressive.
I don't think it'll catch up with him this year. I think what'll happen is guys, as he goes around the league, for basically the second time next year, he's going to have to make some adjustments to his game. Right. Guys will figure out a little bit better how to defend him, but he is a unicorn. I keep saying this to every interview I do, and people ask me about him. Max Lapierre said it best. He's not a superstar. He's a franchise player.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yep.
He's a franchise player.
You were talking about it before, but now you see a lot of the players, his teammates, talking about it, Pierre, is what a rink rat he is. That he's, there's no optional skate in his vocab.
No.
Always skate.
He wants to be at the rink.
Yeah.
I talked to a kid today that's playing in the minor leagues, and they played 3 games in 3 days, 2.5 days. And I said, "What'd you do today?" He says, "Well, I went to the rink at 9 o'clock. What'd you do?" "Rode the bike." "Why'd you do that?" "Because I got to be ready. We play Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 4 games in 5 nights, 6 nights." So, that's how you get ahead. And Lane Hudson's been doing that for a long time. And he's a superstar player who is a franchise player.
Yep.
The one thing, though, with him that I find really interesting, all the people that formulated all these negative opinion about him, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. Those people were never in the rinks watching him.
Yeah.
And that's why this has got to stop. All this nonsense about all these guys claiming to be, I'm an insider.
Yep.
No, because you're not inside the rink evaluating the player.
Yeah.
So if you want to be an insider on NHL trades and all that, go do that.
Mm-hmm.
But don't pretend to be an insider with up-and-coming prospects when you're not even in the rink watching them.
It's true. It's so true. All right, next question. Brad K. Question. Ovi is still 50 goals behind Wayne for total goals, including playoffs, and I believe also his WHL days as well. Does Ovi call it a career after this season? Would winning a second cup affect his decision? Pierre, before you go, and I was going to say this on John, but I didn't want to come off. He is on record, I believe, from earlier in the season, because I heard them talking about this yesterday, is saying he would like to, if he wins the cup, maybe go to the KHL for 1 more year and then retire permanently. So that will be interesting to see if he makes that jump before he officially hangs it up.
Yeah, no, that's why I asked John the question.
Yeah.
Is he still going to keep playing or is this it?
Yeah.
And to his credit, John doesn't know. I don't think anybody knows. Quite frankly, I'm not even sure Ovi knows.
Yeah. He's just living in a moment right now. He'll have time to think this offseason. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, next question. GB, how good will Fowler be in the NHL?
Really good.
Well, I'm not going to pretend to be an insider, but this man watched him play a lot more than me. So, Pierre, just tell him why you think he's going to be really good.
Well, he's got great work habits. He's coachable. He's got amazing intensity. He's unflappable when it comes to big moments. He makes timely saves look real easy. And that's a big part of being a successful NHL goalie, making timely saves look easy. He's a big body. He's not worn out. He's never really been hurt. I see nothing but upside for him, like huge upside, huge.
And I saw some people were messaging me at times saying, why is everybody so high on him if he's lost now? He has Hockey East, he lost in the NCAAs, he lost in the Bean Pot. And I look at that BC team here, and you nailed it. You were one of the few people to point this out before they even lost. While they had a lot of skill, there wasn't a lot of depth behind that first line. And obviously, your son and his team, the Northeastern Huskies, were able to figure that out twice. But, yeah, that's not on him. Like, go look at what he did in those games. I didn't see any softies in those losses.
No, the goalie can only do so much, Jimmy. And he
Right.
did, like that game with Northeastern where they got eliminated in the quarterfinals of Hockey East. I was there. Like, I don't know what people were thinking. Maybe the little juicy rebound on the Joe Connor goal, but even then, like, there was backside pressure on. I don't know. Like, that was. Yeah. It's a pretty good play. It started in the neutral zone and it came off the rush, and that'd be the only goal I could fault him. You can't fault him on Cam Lund. If you haven't seen the game, go watch it. Cam Lund's goal to start the second period, that thing's absolutely ripped. Yeah, that's a big time NHL shot off the rush.
Right.
And then the second goal is a rebound, and the third goal is an empty netter.
Mm-hmm.
So they lose that game. The Denver game, I told Jimmy, I didn't think BC was treated with any respect by the people that built the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But that could have been a potential final.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. And good point by you too, Pierre, to say that the Bentley game kind of exposed some things about BC heading into that game with Denver.
I watched Bentley play a lot this year. They're amazingly well coached. They're very frustrating to play against. They're older players. They're really good in face-off situations. BC was not good on face-off situations. That's how they got exposed by Northeastern, and that's how they got exposed by Bentley.
Yep.
And by Denver. But Denver's very good on face-offs. So, again, it speaks to the youth of their brand, their young team, and as Jimmy said, they didn't have a lot of extra depth.
Yep.
So that's not on Cam Fowler. Or sorry, not Cam. That's not on Fowler.
Yeah, Jake Fowler. Yeah,
Jake Fowler. Cam Fowler's a defender.
It's okay.
Sorry about that.
Having a good season, by the way. All right, next question.
Very good. Very good.
Yep. A to Z me. Habs are kind of overloaded on goalies now. Fowler, Premer, Hughes, Dobis. Who do you guys think will be moved?
Not Fowler.
Not Fowler. I could see Primo. I think he really increased his value with his performance when he went back down. I don't know. That's
no, I think so too. I think so too. I do.
Yeah. And I hope he does. I want that kid to get a chance. I really do.
The natural thing is just to move him to Philly. They definitely need goaltending help in Philly. Mm-hmm. That'd be the natural thing to do.
Philly connection there for sure. All right, next question. P. Cormier, what was the turning point for the Habs this season? Hudson on the PP, Lane's return, Doby's early performance, trade for Carrier, Suzuki chat with Hughes before the trade deadline, MSL, or all of the above? I'd say a little all of the above, but I think you go back to that trade for Carrier, Pierre, and you nailed it. That everything fell into place after that. It was like everybody sort of found their role and everything evened out, and it was full speed ahead.
Yeah, the Carrier trade was really important because it created a matchup tandem with Matheson and Carrier, and they needed a right-hand shot. And a lot of those other things that Mr. Cormier pointed out are very true. But here's where I think their season changed. They got hammered by Pittsburgh. They got hammered by Seattle. They went into Washington on a Thursday night, and they laid an egg. They were bad, Jimmy.
Yep.
And Friday morning, the coach skated them. Even though they were playing Saturday night in Pittsburgh. He skated them and really skated them. And they lost that game in Pittsburgh, but it was a tight game. And, Jimmy, I can just tell you, I think their season changed that Friday at the rink. I think that the coach got their attention, and they never looked back after that.
No, they've been something since then. All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel, any talk of tightening up the LTIR stash for playoff time?
That'll be interesting, Bill, to see how that all plays out.
That could be discussed as we speak.
That's going to be talked about, I'm pretty sure.
By the way, reports are this NHL and the PA are currently, as we speak, trying to extend the CBA, getting ahead of it right now. So that's a good sign. All right, next question. P. Cormier, do you think the Caps used up their energy this season to help Ovi reach the goal plateau? Will there be a letdown in the playoffs? Can the Habs beat them? P. Cormier, I thought that, but now, as we talked with John there and Pierre mentioned it there's still enough time for them to kind of come back from that emotional high and the lull that might follow it. But that being said, I do think that the Montreal Canadiens could beat them in the playoffs. I think anything can happen in the playoffs.
I do too.
This is
playoffs are like the lottery, Jimmy. You got to be in it to win it. And Montreal, if they get in, they could beat anybody.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. They could beat anybody.
We've seen so many times how teams, and forget the Ovi thing, I'm just saying teams in general that sort of lock things up early or kind of find their spot in the standings and the playoff seeding. If you get it too early, sometimes it hurts you. And you run into a team like like all those teams did against the Blues in 2019. And the same thing's happening to St.
Think
Louis.
about what happened to Detroit all those years. They're always at the top of the food chain.
Great
and all
point.
of a sudden they kept first round fodder every single year.
Yep. Yep. All right. Next question. Bill Van Vagel. I know Montreal overcame it, but the two-time zone back-to-back seem brutal to me. Does that mean they get a break somewhere else?
No.
No.
No. This is so the schedule. It's Bill. What people don't realize this year with the schedule was fouled up because of the Four Nations, and it's going to be fouled up again next year because of the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a player, players know, the agents tell them, you've got to prepare a different way because it's going to be hard, especially if you're one of the elite guys. It takes a lot out of you.
All right, next question. Randy Workman. Flames are bringing in Zane Pierre to end the season. How much does it help Zane's growth?
Randy, good for you. Huge. This is a special offensive player. It's going to help him huge.
Is he definitely going to Flames or the Wranglers, Pierre? Do we know?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I would say Flames. But
okay. All right. Next question. Randy Workman. Did Doc ever discuss with you on how he would call the overtime goals in the playoffs?
Nope. And you know what? I think, for 16 years, I probably spent as much or more time with Doc than anybody. Mm-hmm. And never once did he ever say, I'm going to say this, or I'm going to say that, or I'm going to say this. He did his thing. What a wordsmith, what a gentleman, what an amazing human being. Just an amazing human being.
Yeah, I miss Doc. We got to get him on again soon, Pierre.
Okay.
All right, next question. Jason Logan. Hey, gents. Hey, Jay. Good to see you last week. Pierre, what would be your best moment with Ovi when they won the cup, or is there another story you can tell?
Oh, no, I could tell a lot, but I would say with Ovi, the cup was huge. The interview with Ovi on the ice after they won was gigantic. I remember once he yelled at me during a game because I read that you used to work in Pittsburgh. I'm like, thanks for the news flash. You like the Penguins more than us. I'm like, I don't really. And he's yelling at me during the game. And I looked at him like, Alex, I don't give a crap who wins or loses. Oh, geez. I'll never forget that. Yeah. I think that was in Washington, too. It was an afternoon game, and he was mad about something. He's like, you used to work for those guys. You're cheering for them. I'm like, doesn't matter. I don't care.
I love there was an interview going around on social after he broke the record, Pierre, and I think it was either with Friedman or John Bucci-Girl. It's way back when he first started off, and one of them asked him, do you think you could ever break Gretzky's record? And he's like looking at them, what are you, nuts? No, that's never going to be broken. And now here he is. He did it. Yeah. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah. All right, next question. JRB, sticking with the play-by-play theme, do you have any stories about Dick Irvin or Bob Cole?
Lots of them. Really good. Bob was amazing. Bob was tough. I don't know if people realize this. Bob was an elite curler. Like he was a Brier champion curler in Canada. He used to listen to a lot of games on the radio on Fridays and Thursdays to get ready for his weekend Saturday night games on Hockey Night in Canada. Dick Irvin was as prepared as any guy I've ever seen. When I was coaching in the league, I used to talk to him a lot. He really spent a lot of time talking to people, trying to get different stories. He was really thoroughly researched. Obviously, his father's one of the all-time great coaches in the history of the NHL. Mm-hmm. And one of the cool parts about that was Dick Irvin's father had carrier pigeons. That was his big thing. He trained carrier pigeons. And so I found out about it from Dick. Yeah. Dick's still alive. Dick lives in Montreal. He's a little over 90, a little older than Scotty. Mm-hmm. But he's still got his health. He's still got his wits about him. He's doing really well. Bob obviously just passed away, but He and Harry Neal were as good as it got for a long time. Those guys were really, really good together.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell. What's up, Ethan? Do you see Boston as a playoff team next year if they can get a good second or third line right wing? Ethan, I hope, no offense to you there, but I hope wings aren't the focus right now. They need centers. They need a number 1 center, a number 2 center, maybe even a number 3.
I don't see them being a playoff team.
I don't see them there either. They got to do this right. Don't try and rush it. All right, next question. Randy Workman, how many call-ups have the Caps had? Have they done there for you?
I don't know, Randy. It's a great question. I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't know.
And Randy's probably asking that because of what we said about Thursday with Carolina. Next question. Juice _031017. Did the Canadians beat the Bruins in 2011 in the playoffs if Pacioretty and Markov were healthy?
I don't know. Jimmy was around that Boston team. I was doing a lot of the games. Here's what I would say. That trip to Lake Placid by Boston.
Bingo. And
the leadership, Donnie Del Negro helped set that up, the longtime trainer, who's a Hall of Famer, by the way. He still lives in Lake Placid. Donnie helped set that up. Mm-hmm. And Recchi was huge with that. Charo was huge with that. Bergeron was huge in that. Thornton was huge with that. That trip to Lake Placid, I think, salvaged that series more than injuries to Markov and Pacioretty.
Yep. And I do think they still beat them with those guys in the lineup. I agree. Something about that team. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, if you're the Bruins, do you spend all your cap space next year? No.
Ethan, you know what? This might sound like sacrilege. I've never believed in spending to the cap. I think you manage your assets and you always have wiggle room in case there's a big storm that comes your way and you need to fix what's ailing your group. I don't believe in spending to the cap. I've said it in a million different interviews, and I've illustrated to management people that have asked me to talk to them how you can go about not spending to the cap.
Yep.
So I don't think that that's the panacea that everybody thinks, we're going to spend to the cap and we're going to be good. Go look at hey, Ethan, this is really important. I've talked to Jimmy about this before. Go look at the last few years of Neil Smith's tenure with the New York Rangers.
Yeah. Yep.
He had an open checkbook, and I think they were spending upwards of $100 million a year on salaries.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But just because you're paying somebody a lot of money doesn't mean you're going to be good.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, the Bruins have spent to the cap every year since they lost to St. Louis in the Cup, so hasn't done them any good. So, all right, next question. Juice _031017. Is Nick Suzuki making a good case to be on the Canadian Olympic team next year?
Is he ever?
Oh, yeah.
Is he ever?
Oh, yeah.
So Lane Hudson's making a great case to be on the American Olympic team.
Yes, he is. Yep. I don't know.
How are they going to keep him off of that team?
You can't right now. Who knows what happens between now and then? But I mean, as we speak, yep, I'm with you. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, do you think the Blues will beat the Golden Knights, seeming they match up in the first round? I do think they could beat the Golden Knights. They're the team I don't want to play, no matter who I am.
Montreal. They could beat anybody.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to play them. I said this to Jimmy 2 weeks ago. If St. Louis, if you're Vegas and you're playing St. Louis, like, why did we finish in first place? That's our prize. We get to play them. Like, that's crazy.
And by the way, not to make it worse for Bruins fans out there, but somebody pointed this out to me. If they do match up in the first round, you have the last 3 Boston Bruins coaches coaching in that series. All Jack Adams Award winners. All right, next question.
No, that's not good.
Ethan Russell, thoughts?
I watched him last night. he was adequate.
Yep.
He'll get better. He'll get better. He's not on a very good team. He'll get better.
Yeah.
Biggest thing for him, and I bet you Stammer's going to tell him, you get 15 to 20 feet from the net, you don't even waste time looking to pass the puck. Mm-hmm. Get it to the net.
Yep.
Get your feet moving and get it to the net because his shot's really good. And he wasn't drafted to be a defensive stalwart. He was drafted to be a power forward and score.
Yeah. All right, next question. Question. Thoughts on the treatment of Barré-Boulet? Habs needed a capable body for forward depth, but refused to call him up because he's on a one-way. and want him to help Laval win, but he probably deserved a shot, no?
So just a couple things there. Keep that up there.
Yep.
They didn't refuse to call him up because he's on a one-way. You'd rather pay a guy on a one-way playing in the NHL than paying him on a one-way down in the American Hockey League. That's number one. Do they want Laval to win? 100%. Did he deserve a shot? He got a little shot earlier in the year. He's not overly large, and the Canadians can't afford to have too many small guys on their roster. So, I'm just telling you right now, like I think the kid's a good player, but I don't think he got buried by Montreal. I don't. And he's not a checker, Jimmy. He's not a checker.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell again. What direction do you think the Rangers are going to go in? Same as the Bruins or retool during free agency? That's a great question, Ethan. I have no clue on the Rangers, to be honest. They're this team. They're an enigma to me.
Jimmy? I know we talked about it before. That Saturday game with New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
Come on, Jimmy. Jimmy, come on, man. That's not acceptable.
With everything that was on the line to just lay an egg, and also against one of your arch rivals too.
And that's a team. But wait a second, though. They don't even have Jack Hughes playing.
Yep.
Like, come on. They got other guys out of the lineup.
Hamilton's out.
Not playing.
Yep.
Like, they got other guys out of the lineup. You mean to tell me that's the best that the Rangers had to give?
Yeah, it was.
And I'm not blaming the coach. Like, a lot of people construe that as saying, oh, McGuire's blaming Laviolette. I am not.
No.
I'm not. There's a malfunction at the junction there.
There is.
There's something wrong there.
It is, and it's not skill either, because I think when you look at that team on paper, there is a lot of skill. It's something else.
So, Jimmy, if they lose tonight to Tampa, Jimmy, are you prepared to say finito?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
They got to win. Like, tonight is last chance Texaco. You got to win tonight. If you don't win tonight, you're like, okay, we're going golfing.
Yeah, and I don't really think they're going to win tonight. So, all right, next question. P, do you see a future where Struble and Jack-Eye are both part of our decor, or do you think they're both competing for the same slot given the guys we have in the pipeline?
That's such a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it's going to be an internal struggle. I think they're both competing for one spot.
And that's not to say either one's better than the other. It's a great point.
But I think it's such a good point by P. I do. I think
they've got so many options there. It's a good thing. Internal competition is always
nothing wrong with it.
Yep. All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, thoughts on the Blackhawks' other kids? I'm so impressed by their defense and Nazar.
Frankie Nazar's a really good skater, and he's a fun guy to watch. So, yeah, I could see how you could be enthralled with him. Their D's big and mobile. I think they're raw, but I do think eventually they'll be very good. Getting Spencer Knight I thought was really good for them. It's going to help them. You had to move Seth Jones. He's doing better in Florida, but they had to. It just wasn't going to work.
One of those deals work good for both teams, I think.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest conundrums for Chicago, because they didn't trade him, is how much are they going to pay Ryan Donato?
Right. Yep.
Because that's going to affect a lot of stuff around their team long term.
Yeah. There's a ripple effect there.
So how much are you going to pay Donato? And what's the term going to be? And what are the years going to be?
Yeah. And what's your take on Oliver Moore, Pierre?
Good. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Solid player.
All right.
Safe, solid player. He'll figure out the NHL. He'll be an NHL player. He'll be good.
All right. Next question. Ethan Russell. I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, but phrased it wrong. It's all right, Ethan. Was it Jacob Chychrun extension made thinking, expecting the cap is going to be going up next year, or is that the right price for him?
That's kind of where the price is on all those players now.
Yeah.
No, it's hard. Well, we had his father on last week, and his dad's like, I can't believe that my son's getting paid that. But he is, and that's kind of where the market is. Look at Jake Sanderson and what he's getting paid up in Ottawa. Look at Tommy Shabbat, what he's getting paid up in Ottawa. Look at Zach Werenski, what he's getting paid. Like, you go around the league for those guys that are impact defensemen, that's what they get.
All right, next question. Marco Lorebe. What's up, Marco? What potential first-round matchup has upset written all over it? Anyone that faces the Habs and anyone that faces the Blues?
I would say St. Louis versus Vegas could be an upset, and I think Vegas,
or if it's Winnipeg too.
Or Winnipeg, and you can ask Jimmy. I told him this morning. I said I wouldn't want to play that Vegas team, but if I were St. Louis, I'd be like, "Come on, let's Let's go play. Because
Yeah.
there's something going on in St. Louis that's really intimidating, I think.
Yep. All right, next question. Alex Semanowski. Pasta had 8 points in 2 games. Who's someone he reminds you of from the NHL past?
Mike Bossy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's some Bossy in there. There's some Steve Shutt in there. Guys who can really score and make plays.
Do you see any Jagger in him at all?
No.
No, not at all. Okay.
No.
The reason I ask, I think it's because I see Jagger in his personality, Pierre.
Oh, well, if you're talking about the person,
Right? He's so quirky but in a good way.
Yarmer was a gift from God.
He was
Yarmer's a way different cat, man. Jimmy, like I skate a lot with him, both with the group and just the two of us. He was at another level.
I only got to cover him up close from the 2013 deadline to the end of that Stanley Cup final when they lost to Chicago. And still to this day, some of the best interviews and just not just on the record, some of the best hockey talks I had, just kind of the breeze.
But he's
a beauty.
Like he's one of the all-time greatest in the history of the game.
Yeah. But you know what?
That's not a knock on Pasta, by the way. Please, if Pasta
no.
And he told, why is McGuire? I'm not carving him at all. But to say that there's similarities with Yarmer, I'd be like, I don't think so.
Not to play, yeah. But as a personality, I see it. And I do like Pasta. I've had some incredible conversations with as well. All right, next question. GB, how much has the offseason training changed over the last year?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So much. It's lean muscle. It's fast twitch. It's so scientific now. It's amazing. And I'm grateful because when I wasn't coaching and I was doing TV, I've seen a lot of what was going on with these players and these teams and how they were training guys. And so you get to keep up on the newest things. You get to really see what's going on. And so when I work with the kids in the summer, a lot of it's, a lot of the same stuff that I did on the ice, but off the ice, it's way different. It's way different.
I mean, back in the day, those guys, there was no workouts in the off season. I remember talking to guys like Terry O'Reilly and Rick Middleton.
You carry your own bag for 27 holes, and that's
exactly. And then they'd be like, we'd work our beer guts off in September. That's how it worked. All right, next question. Marek Istok. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I apologize if not. Hello, Pierre. Hello, Jimmy. Can I ask you about Maddox Schultz? A lot of hype around him. You were the first to give info about Gavin McKenna. Tell us about Landon DuPont and Maddox Schultz.
Yeah, I'd like to tell you more, but I need to do more research on both Landon and Maddox, but I will. But McKenna, I was watching games, and I'm calling Jimmy up going, Jimmy, I just saw this kid, and he's way too good to be that age. Remember when I called you up, Jimmy? I was like, oh, my gosh, this guy's good.
Yeah, look what he's still doing right now in the playoffs. It's insane.
So, Jimmy, the question on him is going to be, does he leave to go to college?
Yep.
It's going to be really interesting to see. Like, boy, I like the fact that guys have the ability to do it, but I also know how, and this is for my major junior friends, I also know how important major junior hockey is in a lot of these communities.
Mm-hmm.
And if guys like that start to leave at 17 or 18, that's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
I could, if a player left at 19, I'd say no problem.
Right.
Because you would have had him as a 16, 17, and 18. You would have had him for 3.
Yeah, but it's almost like, what's he got to prove there right now, Pierre?
So I talked to Jimmy, this is good. And again, this is directed more at my major junior friends than anybody else. A lot of these guys are getting these gaudy numbers, and they're doing it against younger guys. They wouldn't be putting those numbers up in college. They just would. That's not a knock on major junior hockey. It's just the fact is they're younger players, and college players are older players.
Yeah,
they're more mature, they're more physical, they're faster, they're bigger, they're stronger.
All right, next question. Marco Larebe, why did the Preds retool fail so badly compared to the Caps this summer?
Well, I don't know about the Caps. The Caps, I think we're going in the right direction anyways.
Yeah, I think the Preds were more just everything was done sort of in free agency. The Caps have been something that was building to this point. And then as John Walton correctly pointed out, they identify needs that they could address via free agency and trades to kind of complement that as those other guys, matured into their NHL positions. So
one of the biggest problems I think in Nashville is they need center ice help.
Mm-hmm.
They have good center icemen, but they're all the same, or pretty much. And Ryan O'Reilly's not getting any younger.
No. They're going to be a very interesting team to watch this offseason.
Well, this is going to be an interesting offseason for them for sure.
Yep.
On a lot of different fronts.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next question. AGZ, can Jonathan Toews revive his career? Top 3 likely destinations? Yeah, I mean, I would think he might have to obviously reinvent himself a bit, Pierre, because he hasn't played in so long.
I think he can.
Knowing him, you know him better than me. I would think he can.
I think he can. If I were Winnipeg, I'd be all over him. If I were LA, I would think very seriously about him. Anaheim, I'd think very seriously about him.
What about Detroit?
Detroit, I'd think about him, but I don't want to. I got a lot of young infrastructure coming through. But you're talking about with Patty Kane there. I don't think that wouldn't be the role that he'd be playing. As I've said this before, if I would have been fortunate enough to stay in Ottawa, he would have been a player that we were definitely would have tried to get.
All right. Next question. Ron LaRoque. Does Matthews have a shot at Ovi's goal?
I don't think so.
Ron, it just happened. I know.
I don't think so, Ron.
No,
not a knock on Austin at all. I don't think so.
I think it's going to be a long time until somebody breaks that.
I don't think people realize how tough how tough he is. He had a broken leg at the start of this year.
It's insanity.
He's going to score almost 50 goals, and he missed 7 weeks of the season.
Yep.
And he's 40 years old.
It's unreal what he's done. Next question. Pete Cormier, if the Bruins need a center, Desnoyers? Desnoyers. Sorry, will be in play.
Desnoyers.
Will be in play at the draft. What is his upside, Pierre? Any comparison to a current NHLer?
All right. So first of all, his brother was drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers. He's playing in Lebanon Valley. His brother's an 02 birth date. Elliot is the brother's name. Very good player. The father actually played with Marty Brodeur and St. Hyacinthe in major junior hockey with the Lasers. Norman Flynn was a coach. Kid's got upside. He's a real talented offensive player. Really talented offensive player.
All right. Next question. Ethan Russell, thoughts on Minton's past 2 games?
I wouldn't read too much into it.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about Fraser, hockey sense is really good.
Yeah.
Even if he's not scoring, can affect the outcome of a game, which is really positive. And I think it's a disjointed year for him. It's been a lot. It's been like all over the place. You're going to be with the Marlies one night. You're going to be with the Leafs on a Saturday night. We're going to trade you. You're going to play for Providence Bruins. Now we're going to bring you up the bot. Like, you can't get any traction when you're doing that kind of movement.
No.
And I can tell you just from experience, you just can't.
Yeah. His potential's great, though.
Huge upside for that player.
All right, next question. Tim G, Pierre and Jimmy, my sons were in Montreal on Thursday night. I was as well, Tim. Crazy atmosphere. How much of an advantage is the Bell Center in the playoffs? It is an advantage.
If the team, it's an advantage if the team gets off to a start.
Yep. If
they're coming from behind, and let's say they're down 3 and the power play stinks and the Boo Birds come out, it's a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really important in that building. I've seen it happen. You got to get a lead. And if you get a lead in that building, it's tough for the opposition to come back. It really is.
It's going to be something in the playoffs. All right, next question. Ron LaRoque, do the Preds have anybody coming from the A?
They do, actually. They've got some guys coming up. They're going to be pretty good. You saw Wood came up and played his first game. They have Delgaizo up there now playing on defense for them. They've got some guys in the American Hockey League that are Zachary Lehoux came up. So he's up from the American League. They've got some guys down there. They've got some guys.
All right, next question.
By the way, they just signed Cole O'Hara too. Don't forget that.
Right. Good
call.
He
comes out of UMass. So yeah, no, they've got some guys. They're gonna be okay.
All right. Next question. Guys, this is a Slovakian guy. I'm really hyped about Dali Dvorsky. In your eyes, is he a top 6 center? Is Jim Montgomery the right guy to develop him in St. Louis? You know him very well, Pierre.
Yeah, no, Mark, I agree. I think Dvorsky's outstanding. Seen him at World Juniors, seen him in the American League, seen him in the NHL. I think Jimmy will do an outstanding job with him. I love that question, by the way. Thank you for that. That kid's a really talented. And by the way, I had a lot of great nights in Slovakia over the course of my career. Really enjoyed going to Bratislava. And I've had some great nights in your country, so I'm really grateful for that.
And Pierre, I remember Andy Strickland was raving about him too when we had him on a couple.
Andy thought the world of him. He's good. Yeah. By the way, this is for Matic. I don't think there's a better story that's been under-publicized than Zdeno Chara and Marian Hossa and Marian Gaborik giving substantial amounts of funds to Trenčín. Dukla Trenčín's a very famous team in their country, and building a rink for the kids. I don't think it ever got nearly enough exposure. And those guys they're true gentlemen. Those three guys I just talked about, Gaborik, Chara, and Hossa, they're phenomenal guys.
All right, next question. Is that it? I think we're done. Yes, we are. All right.
Little overtime today.
Little overtime. I know you're up against it. You got Mitch coming up. But Pierre, thank you.
I'm always good for that.
Yeah, we love these questions. Keep them coming every day. We appreciate them. And also big thanks to John Walton. What a great interview with him. Really enjoyed that as well. Discussing the historic moment of Alexander Ovechkin breaking the all-time goals record on Sunday. Thanks to Shane working the boards up in Montreal. And thanks to our great staff. I heard, by the way, Sammy's gala was amazing. Everyone loved it. So I'm happy for Sammy and the Cavaleros as well. Congratulations to them on that.
Yeah, I heard some reports about Sammy. He's getting a little wild in there. I heard he's
many of those. What are they? The BB beers?
Abitibi.
Yeah, there you go.
Sammy was sampling some of the produce.
Yeah, I think they named a beer after him.
I think Sammy was sampling some of the produce there. We'll find out.
It looked like our friend Tony Marinaro had a good time as well. So you'll see him, I'm sure, in the post games this week on the Sick Network. So looking forward to that. But until tomorrow, we will see you again here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.